In the last video, we did a lot. We connected to Postgres, we started adding books, talked a little bit about relational databases. In this video, we're going to keep practicing that by creating a page that will allow us to list our books. And then I also want to add in the ability there to delete books, so that would be useful at this point, since we do have some dummy data in the database, and we'll probably create more as we go along. And so that's what we're going to try to do today. We left off, well, like I said, what we've done, and I haven't coded any since, so let's get started with this. In terms of installing anything new for Node, I don't think we'll need anything today. And so I can just npm start, and we can just get started on the code things. So here is our list page. It still is really ugly, which means we're going to need to have a styling session soon to make this thing not completely hideous. We'll do that later. We'll actually have a session that's just for styling. So we have a hideous list page. Let's actually make it work. So that means to the code, which is over here. All right, list page. Now, later on, I know we're going to have like a list of tags and a list of books. I'm going to go ahead and take the opportunity right now to rename this. There was book form. I'm going to keep that pattern and just say book list. All right, and then let's see, in terms of the routing and the server, we'll have to make some changes here. First of all, this has to become book list because this is the name of the view. And instead of a list, maybe we'll call it books. There we go, books. So we have books, and we have book and add, and so that will be adding a book, and this is the actual post for that. So let's do this, books and book list. So this should be running. A list will no longer work because we just broke that route. Books now works. Let's make this happen. To make this happen, we need to go get data from the database. To remind ourselves how that would work, it is the select statement that is what you use to go get data, to basically select data from a table. In this particular case, we have 6 rows in the table, and so a select star from books will get everything. This star here refers to the columns, and so if I just wanted the title, for example, I could just do that. I'm doing the star here. This is a simple way of just getting all of the columns real quick. And so here, this is essentially the table I want to select from. So let's take that into the code. And so this would be in the get, and it's, from a flow perspective, exactly the same as the last one, where we had to connect. That was here. And then when the connection was done, we then did our SQL where we inserted something. And then when that was done, we saw the results, and we console logged it, and then redirected, and then we put a catch to catch any errors. Same flow here. We're going to start with a client. Then we're going to say client.connect. And this is asynchronous because this is connecting to a networking resource, and so therefore this cannot happen immediately. So this is an asynchronous API. We will once again use the promises, and so then here would be whenever the connection is complete, then this block of code will run. So when the connection is complete, and only then can I actually execute a query. So I can say client.query, and then I need that same query as before, select all from books. And then I need to return this to me that prompts on. And so this should select everything from it. In the last example with the insert, we had to pass 2 things in, SQL and params. And so this is the SQL. This one doesn't take any params, and so I will just leave it as is. And so whenever that happens, we can say, okay, well, when that's over, let's get the results of that query. And let's take a look at what that is. And then when that's done, we can render it. Because we need the data from the database to render the page, it definitely makes sense to wait until this point to do that. And then because, well, just in case there is an error, let's put a catch. If there is an error here, I'm not sure what we can do other than just render the book list, but there won't be any data. So for now, until we have an error page, I'll put that on my list of to-dos. Let's just res.send back a message, something bad happened. So if we do screw something up, at least we'll have a message for ourselves that says something bad happened. All right. So in theory, this might work. We're not rendering any data yet, but we should, in theory, get some results. So let's go try it. We'll look at our console, Command-K to clear it, and refresh, and let's see what happened. Okay, good news. We got some things back. If we look at the results object that comes back, we see row count. Well, that means we have 6 records. Do we have 6 records? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. So that totally makes sense. And then we get an array of objects. IDs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So these are our books. These are all in a property called rows. There's this fields property that tells you about the fields belonging to that result set, book ID, title, and authors. We don't need to pay attention to that. We also don't need to pay attention to any of this other stuff. Really, all we need is the rows. So we got data back. That means we need to get those rows and do something with them. If I want to, I can do this, and I can just pass into here, and I actually don't like this very much. I could pass this in. Let's just mess around with this and see what we got. So book list, that means we have an object coming back with a property called rows that has an array of things. Well, I have currently no books listed. Well, that's about to change. Using mustache, I could say rows, and so this will hit that property. And that's fine. And let's make a table out of this. This is tabular data. This makes sense. For each book, we're going to need a new row. We don't really need the ID right now. Now, this is coming out of Postgres with the underscore names. That's not the typical pattern in JavaScript. In a minute, we will talk about how we can fix that. It's actually not all that hard. But for now, let's do this. Of course, actually, I guess we don't have to worry about that because these are just title and authors. I think that's plural. Just so you can see it. Let's go ahead and put the ID here. Because if you're actually building an app on top of Postgres, this is something that's going to happen. And so you need to have a good plan for handling it. Either you could leave it like this. It's just unusual to do so. So we'll get to it. So let's see if this is going to work. Oh, sweet. That works. Okay. So we have our table, our hideous table, but it does seem to be working. I mean, it's really, this is too hideous for me to try and just look at. So, you know what, I'm just going to have to do a little bit of something here. And so we've got our SCSS still running. So let's go here and just say default styles. Let's give all the TDs padding of 3 pixels. 5 pixels. So now the data won't be quite so squished up against each other. All right, let's just leave it at that for now. That'll be fine. At least we can read it. And some margin on top and bottom. Okay, so there's our not quite as squishy table. All right, that seemed to work. Let's go ahead and do a delete, and then we'll come back and we'll figure out about that property name. So in terms of the delete, this should be just create another form. The easiest way to do that is to just create a little subform like this. At least the easiest way for me is to do this. So I could say something like form method equals post. And action, where do I want to go? I want to go to book, delete, and then I want to pass in the ID there. And for me to get the actual ID, I just need to do what I was doing before and just say book ID. Okay, now we have delete. That does a post to book delete /3. That seemed to work. So now, of course, it didn't seem to work. The post to that location worked, but it says you can't post here because we never set that up in the server. So let's go do that. Let's do it here at the end of our book stuff. We can say app.post book delete, and you do URL parameters like so in Express. So now what will happen is that ID will belong or will appear here, request.params.id, where this value here is this. So the name there is not magical, it's just I said it was ID there, so therefore it's going to look for ID there. So same thing with inserting and getting stuff. I first have to connect, then I can issue a delete, however you do that, because we haven't done it yet. I can connect, then I run a delete query, and then when that's done, I can then, I guess, send them back to the list. So let's go learn what it takes to delete something. So here we are back in Postgres, and let's do this. So I want to delete number 6. And the syntax for deleting is this. So if I wanted to delete 6, that's how I would do it. I would say delete from and then specify the table. And then I say where, and usually you want a where. Almost always you want a where. Because if I didn't put the where, this would actually delete everything. So I do. So I say where book ID equals 6. So if nothing matches, because right now there's no book ID 9, I run that, it says delete 0. If I say 6, delete 1. So one row was deleted, and now if I go back up here and select, I can see that it is in fact gone. So this is what we're looking for in terms of our delete, right there. Now back to the node stuff. Now I'm connecting again. When the connection is done, I will return client.query, and then I will need to pass in SQL and parameters like I did last time. I will need a parameter because of this right here, this 6. So let's do it like last time, where I have my SQL with the $1 specifying the parameter that we want. And let's see, params equals, and so request.params.id. That's what we said we think that's going to be. We'll have to check it here in a second. We actually haven't tested that yet. So I'm running a query with the SQL and those params. And, well, then console log delete results. Let's see what comes back. And when we're done, we're going to, as we said, redirect to the books URL. So that's /books. It was list, but we renamed it this time to /books. And then finally, if there is an error, we're going to catch, and then console log our error so we can figure out what we're going to do. Okay, in theory, all of that might just work. So let's try it. First, let's check the terminal. Any errors? No, everything's good. All right, let's refresh this. Let's delete. Notice one row deleted. That's because we deleted it using pgadmin last time. This time, I'm going to try to delete that. Well, that seemed to work. Disappeared. What happened? Well, let's see. There's the select results. Where are the results from our delete? Delete results. Okay. Command delete, row count 1. So, we deleted a row. That's exactly what we wanted. Where is this? Where does this come from? Well, after we deleted, we redirected back to the list. And so this is the select for the list. So everything worked as expected. I see 1, 2, 3, and 5 here. Let's go check our database and say 1, 2, 3, and 5, right? Here's the ID. This is just the row count. This is the actual ID. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 5. We've correctly selected and rendered things in the views. We've also deleted things. All this seems to be working. The next thing I want to do before we leave this video, this will be the last thing we do, is I want to camel-case what comes out of Postgres. Now, to do this, we could do this manually. That would be fine. Or we can go look for something for camel-casing Postgres. So I'm going to do a search for PG or Postgres camel-case node. All right, is there a way of doing this? Oh, hey, look, this looks promising, and I've used it. It works great. And so, yes, PG camel-case. This is pretty handy, and this is all we have to do right here. And so let's do this. npm install PG camel-case. All right, that's now installed. Get back to running. So now we need to bring that in. And notice here in our example, we actually have to get to the PG thing. So, well, let's do it. So we can require pg-camel-case. So this actually gets the thing we just installed. And so that's going to go into a variable. So const pg camel-case. Now we just need to run that on the PG itself. So let's do PG camel-case. Let's see if that does it. All right. Let's go back and refresh our book list. If this succeeded, what I'm expecting is for these numbers to disappear because I've now changed their casing. So therefore, Mustache won't be able to find them. That's what I'm expecting. Okay, I've apparently screwed up something, and so now I need to go look into that. So PG camel-case is not a function. PG camel-case is not a function. Well, let's see what I did wrong. Maybe I just misread the example here. So require PG camel-case, and then it looks like it's calling it as a function to me. PG camel-case is not a function. PG camel-case, it is installed. It shouldn't make a bit of difference to, let's do this. So here I am, live debugging, because I'm actually not sure what's going on here. What is PG camel-case? You know what, I should put a comment here. PG camel-case is an object. Maybe something's changed. Maybe this is apparently the function I need to call. That doesn't look like something I need to do right here. Well, let's try that instead. Argument is not a string. Maybe this is the function I need to call. Because it does say here in the documentation, changes the internals of PG to change the result. Okay, well there we go. That is running. That doesn't mean it's working, but that does mean my site's running again. So let's try this. And as I expected, the IDs have gone away. And if we go back and we change this to camel-case, well, I get them. I do get them. Yay, that also means these are probably correct. Yeah, nope, oh, they're not correct. Of course they're not correct, because I didn't fix that in the view. Now let's try this again. Inspect. It's been easier if I had just viewed source. There we go, there's the ID. Okay, so that's fixed. So lesson learned is sometimes the documentation doesn't seem to be correct because, you know, this didn't work for me. So I wonder if we go look at its GitHub repo to see if they've changed anything there. Of course, no. Interesting. Well, you know, sometimes documentation is out of date or not quite what you want, and you deal with it. And I am going to leave all those mistakes in the video. It does make it a few minutes longer, but oh well. So let's delete the book of horrible code. That is still working. Blinds are useful. It doesn't actually sound like a good book. So that's gone. So now we have just one, the book of horrible code, and the book of good code, or cool code. Back with our data. We just have the two records. Everything's good. So I think we've accomplished what we set out for. We created a list page for listing the books and deleting, and we fixed the whole camel casing issue. Even if we made some mistakes along the way, but that's how it is sometimes. All right then, thanks for watching.